there's a question that's been on my mind for several weeks, and I've got to ask you this. And I don't, I don't want this to get too gross, but in the manufacture of these vaccines, we know that some vaccines use monkeys and even monkey testicles that are somehow injected or inoculated with these viruses. What's not clear to me, and this is my question, if you know the answer, how are these viruses harvested out of these monkeys? Are these monkeys infected and then allowed to fester, and then they're euthanized, and then their bodies are, harvested in some way? How does this work?
The African green monkeys, they just use their kidneys. That's how, and so so these viruses that are in the monkeys are endemic to the monkey. The viruses in the monkey are endemic to the monkey, which means how humans have lactobacillus, and it's just there. It doesn't cause any problems. Or we have candida on our skin, and for the most part, it doesn't ever cause any problems. So these are viruses that are just symbionts in these monkeys, and so they are infected into the kidneys. So when they harvest the monkeys, the kidneys from the monkeys, to use the kidneys to grow the viruses for the vaccines, they mix together. And there isn't any way to get them out.
So, but what really happens here in the lab? They got a room full of caged monkeys. Are they euthanizing these monkeys and then surgically removing kidneys and other body parts? I mean, what happens here?
Yes,
this is a big mystery.
Yeah, I do believe that that's what happens.
And then these kidneys get, ground up in a giant vaccine blender to make material to use for further refinement? I mean, what? No one talks about this.
I don't really know that anybody's actually gone in and watched that happen, Mike. Maybe that's a great investigative thing to do. You want to see how are these things actually made. I know that the new cell line technologies that are using dog kidney cells and caterpillar eggs and some other types of, those are the two main ones, and then the retina cells from aborted fetal tissues. I know that they grow them in great big vats. They look like great big steel vats, like fermenting vats. And they mix all of this stuff together, and it's like you're going to bake a cake, You mix all this stuff in there, and then you throw in the viruses that you're wanting, and the viruses have to have living cells and tissues to replicate. And so they put the viruses in there, and then they replicate, and then they siphon off the fluid and somehow separate the fluid and the viruses, and it's this whole process that I believe is very antiquated. It's not nearly as sophisticated as what they want everybody to believe it to be. And that's why on a fairly regular basis they have vaccine recalls, because they're contaminated with bacteria, or they're contaminated with that thing that happened with the rotavirus that happened back a couple of months ago. And so how did it end up to get pig virus in there? Pigs aren't used anywhere in terms of the vaccine manufacturing process.
Well, this is the thing. I've been asking around on this question. I'm getting the sense that this is the huge, dirty little secret of the vaccine industry. People are concerned about what's in their Taco Bell meat. That's nothing compared to what you're injecting into your child's body that's in this vat of disease from harvested monkey organs that they call vaccine production. I want to get to the bottom of this. And maybe someone will leak a video or something that could just destroy the vaccine industry if people really knew what was going on.
That's really true. And now that we have the new Novartis flu vaccine plant, and I believe it's in North Carolina, that they're going to be using dog kidney cells, and they're going to be using MF59, which is the squalene-based adjuvant that causes all kinds of autoimmune problems. And neither of them have been approved for use yet in the U.S., but Novartis has sunk a couple $2 billion, including matching funds from U.S. tax dollars, into building their manufacturing plant down there. Maybe you'll have a fan that works at that plant that can get some information for you.
Yeah, because what they're doing is bringing in, on one side of the factory, they're bringing in animals, and on the other side of the factory, out go the dead animal carcasses and vaccines. Yep,
exactly. Oh, God.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't want this to get too gross, but it is gross. This is parents out there, if you're listening, this is what you're injecting into your babies and your children's bodies is this kind of blended up diseased concoction grown in vats and harvested from diseased animals. I mean, this is pretty insane stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. And that's where I think that if people just did something as simple as reading the package insert, which is required by law to be to come with every single manufacturing product, whether it's a pill or a shot, it's required to be dispensed with the package insert by law. And all you have to do, and you don't have to be a doctor or a nurse to understand it. Now, there may be a few words in there that you kind of stumble across, but it's written in plain enough English that you start reading this and you go, my gosh, I want that stuff injected in my baby.
Right.
And I think that where a lot of the changes happen from there, but I'm in agreement with you. I think that there's a lot of stuff in these manufacturing plants that is just disgusting. How can it not be? When you think about how particularly the viral vaccines are grown.
Well, yeah, I was watching a recording the other day of a top scientist from Merck. In fact, Gary Null had this audio on his show. This is a top scientist from the 1960s who developed many of the vaccines we know today, the measles and mumps and so on. And on this recording, he's talking about the cancer-causing viruses that are in these vaccines. Even that they knew they were in the polio vaccine, and they just looked the other way. But he said that in a typical vaccine, there are 40 other viruses that cause other diseases that aren't even supposed to be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The stealth viruses are absolutely there. I mean, the ones that come out of that are in the avian serum and in the bovine serum. I mean, the avian serum is the ones that has chicken viral contaminants in it, avian contaminants. And they know that the ones that are in the bovine serum, that several of them have been linked to turning on some of the cancer genes, particularly breast cancer genes. And they know that in the specific pathogen-free eggs of which these viruses are grown, that was one thing that caught my eye one time. I was reading a package insert, and it said specific pathogen-free eggs. And I thought, now what the heck does that mean? Why doesn't it just say pathogen-free? What does it mean, specific pathogen-free?
Oh, just certain pathogens are lacking.
Certain pathogens are tested for. And so I tracked that down into the egg industry that produces millions of eggs a year for the vaccine industry. And there are certain chickens that are grown in certain environments. And then when they have the eggs are tested for specific pathogens. And if those list of pathogens are not there, then those eggs are okay for the vaccine industry. But there are hundreds of pathogens that are not tested for at all.
Wow.
And so those are the ones that we end up with this entire bunch of viral soup that goes into our genetic little humans and can actually be incorporated. It's a process called transcession, which is the incorporation of a DNA of a viral bacterial animal cell into the DNA of the human and transforms it. Actually
creating mutant humans.
Exactly.
Except you don't get powers like the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't walk through walls.
Yeah, it's just the opposite. You get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Right. Your superpower is the ability to collapse 5 times a day. I'm not trying to make fun of that, but it sometimes you gotta be
add a little bit of levity to it, really.
But with all these animals going into this, I mean, this is pretty crazy. You mentioned the pig viruses that were contaminating the rotavirus vaccines, and I remember that, and the FDA said, "Oh, it's no problem. It's harmless. Just go ahead and inject those pig viruses." And you've got bird viruses, you've got pig viruses, monkey viruses,
cow viruses,
cow, dog. This is like the vaccine companies have their own Noah's Ark. 2 of every animal. They put out a sign in front, Noah's Ark, come to be saved. But when you get in there, it's a giant blender. And they blend it all up. Oh, it isn't Noah's Ark. It's Merck's Ark.
Oh, that's a great. You need to hang on to that, and that should be one of your next cartoons.
Oh man! And this ship is sinking too. This is not saving anything.
And disgusting as that is. When you read these things, and these scientists who are trying to figure out the next way to make these viruses replicate, and they're using things like retinal cells from aborted fetal tissues and caterpillar eggs. So now we're going to have insect DNA injected into us. And it's just gross. I mean, it's like, how do they even conceive of these diabolical plans in order to make a vaccine? And what it all boils down to, Mike, is what been talking about this whole time. It's all about greed.